tell us the city. Say I'm Letitia from Chicago, or I'm Siobhan from New York. We want to know where you're from today, because we have, like I said, 1,000 women. But Letitia, James, Tish, we want to know about the yes you can mindset, because I'm sure a lot of people told you, no, you can't. What did it take for you to get the grit, the gravitas to say, I'm going no matter what they say?
Well, first, let me just say that usually it takes a man, all he has to do is consult one individual, and that's the person in the mirror.
That's
For
right.
women, it takes at least 7 individuals outside of that person in the mirror to convince you to run. And it's important to note that, listen, I am the Attorney General of the state of New York, but I come from humble beginnings. I did not know a lot of people with white collars. I knew a lot of people with no collars, or people with pink collars, or people who stood at home, or people in public housing. I did not come from a famous family. None of my family members were in politics. I came the hard way through grit and hard work, and on the backs of Black women. Black women historically have saved our democracy. They did it just recently, and they've done it time and time again. We are the backbone of the Democratic Party. Don't get that twisted. And it's important that we recognize our role and our responsibility, and that we step up and be at the table. And as, again, one of my icons who came from Brooklyn, Shirley Chisholm, said, if they don't, again, extend you a seat at the table, bring your folding chair. And in the words of also another Shiro, Barbara Jordan, obviously I should be concerned about individuals who subvert our Constitution. For me, it was really all about Black women with no collars, Black women who were in public housing, Black women who gave me $5, $10, in some cases 50 cents. And it's important that we all support campaign finance, because I came up through small donations and not large donations from individuals who had special interests, but individuals on the ground whose voices needed to be heard.
So to that point, yeah, money is so important. So how do you align your campaign manager, who's saying you have to do call time and you have to bring in the big dollars, with your knowing I can knock on some doors where some women did sell chicken dinners and some women don't have the big dollars. So how do you align what you need with the reality of what they're asking for from your campaign?
So, listen, you need someone who reflects your values and your world vision. And so my first campaign for city council, it was, my girlfriends, individuals who I went to church with, individuals who understood that if you cobble together $10 from at least 20 of your friends, you can go up against those powerful interests in our society. And so for me, when I announced my candidacy, because of a lot of the work that I have done serving as a public defender, serving on a number of campaigns, working pro bono on a number of cases in the community, representing the interests of victims of domestic violence in court and children who were caught up in the criminal justice system. When I first had my first event, I raised like $30,000, and it mostly came from small grassroots organization. And so I reject this notion that you cannot do it. That's not part of my vocabulary. My vocabulary is let's go to it.
Awesome. And to that point, Siobhan, she's also talking about relationships. She volunteered for some, campaigns that she was not on. And so let's talk about relationships and what you're helping the women who come into the D4 Women in Action know how important those are.
So relationships are really a requirement for any campaign. For anyone considering running for office, what you're hearing is about quality of relationships. And so it's not just about the who, but really the heart of the who, right? So are there interests that are from community-based organizations, faith communities, engaging small business, engaging, thinking about educational leaders. What you have to identify with your partnerships are, again, back to the value systems. It'll never stop. I think a misnomer as people are thinking about running for office is that you have to come from a certain echelon of the community. That is not true. What is true is if you have the heart of the people. And so connecting with relationships, also having validators, those that can speak on your behalf, those that knew you when you grew up, those that knew you from, whence you came from, those that know your entire process and plans and your career, your families. So these relationships are longstanding. But here's the challenge, Ambassador, is if you come into office and forget the relationship. And that's the push that we want all of Black women. If you're thinking about running for office, don't forget the who. Who did that work for you? Who was pushing the ground for you? And then I think we have to also not get caught up in this kind of have and have nots. It's about what you have to make it work, what you have and making it work, right? So bringing in all that you can to do what you can.
Take what's in your hands and do something with it, as opposed to looking
Absolutely.
To the point. So this new administration is looking for cabinet members to fill places, and they have 4,000 slots to fill in the administration.
Yes.
So there's civic organizations meeting with them saying they should diversify the cabinet. Maybe there should be a Black woman in commerce, because Black women businesses are the fastest growing. And so Tish, I want to share with you, please tell Governor Cuomo we said hello, and we now have She for PPE. We have just created 25 Black women-owned distributors of PPE equipment. So for New York, when you need PPE, we have PPE. But let's talk about, how do you ascend? You have a long resume that you shared with us, and we are so excited with you. But at what point do you say, I need a break? I have a public life that's very full. And at what point do you say, I need a private life where I may need to go somewhere like Sag Harbor to the beach? When do you make those decisions?
It's a balancing act, you know, and oftentimes you gotta, set up and make sure that individuals don't violate your space. And it's really difficult now working remotely.
Yes.
Oftentimes, people, I'm 24/7, just because we have to be 24/7. And it's hard and it's a struggle. And I've yet to find that balance in my life. I sacrifice a lot to serve in this position. And people need to understand that, because they expect you to be on 24/7. And if in fact you are not on 24/7 and they catch you, then they will offer you up.
Exactly.
So I have sacrificed quite a bit. I've sacrificed my personal life. I've sacrificed again my private space, but it's okay. It's worth it, because as long as I can push to reunite those babies who are at the border, who were taken from the arms of their mothers, I'm good. As long as I can address all of those people who are standing right now at the food pantries, I'm good. As long as I could stop some of those evictions and people who are losing their homes, I'm good. As long as I can stand up and defend Affordable Care Act, I'm good. As long as I can keep that citizenship question off of the census, I'm good. As long as I can tell people who are victims of domestic violence that you're okay, you're not alone, that there's services out there for you, I'm good. I am good in a wide range of issues. You got to raise your voice and you got to speak truth to power. Okay. And regardless of the circumstances, the people will stand with you as they have stood with me time and time again, as I've taken on mighty forces and brought them to their knees. Just humble yourself and recognize that you serve a good God and you serve the people that put you here.
I love it. I love it. We're getting ready to take some questions from our audience. But Siobhan, where do you find life balance?
You know what? I find it in the divine, and I find it in the eyes of that 6-year-old little one. I am raising a young Black boy in America who is 6 years old, who is understanding and able to ask questions. Mommy, what is this thing about George Floyd? What makes me different? And he's beginning to ask those questions. So what I have done now is create a safe space for him. And my husband and I have really decided that during this time of COVID, not only are we recentering our relationship with the Lord, but we're recentering our relationship around this family and how we build power, understanding who we are in our souls, taking time for that massage. To all the business owners out there, I own a business as well. It is okay to say yes to yourself. I'm in healthcare. You cannot take too much time for yourself. That's not a real thing. There's always time. Put it in your calendars. And I've learned to do that now. I actually schedule my me time.
I love it. I schedule my office time, my me time, my beach time, because it's very important. And I've just raised, past tense, 2 young men who are 25 and 28. But the George Floyd thing really had, for the first time, we talked about racism. because everywhere else, you kind of shove it under the rug. Like they make you feel ashamed to even talk about it, like something's wrong with you. But we have the closest relationship. So COVID has brought us together. But we're going to take some questions from the audience. We have Cynthia Barnes. Can you tell us where some of the people are from today that have signed on, and just tell us the first question, please? We need to open her mic, please. Once that, we need to open your mic. Thank you.
Say yes. We have people from all over. Lots of people from New York saying that they're here supporting you. A lot of sorority members here today. The first question that we have for the panelists is, how do you get started? If you're interested in doing a campaign, how do you get started?
So I'm going to ask Siobhan first, and Tish, if you'll follow up.
Yep. We'll just go through the same again. Identify if you are eligible in your county, in your district, depending on where your state is. Every state has different rules. So please understand the electoral rules in your state, and then work on your campaign plan, identifying your platforms, identifying your campaign managers and your fundraising plans. And then also think about your timeline. Every campaign has a timeline, understanding those high milestone dates in the process, knowing when you have primaries, knowing when your opponents are running on, and being aware of the whole process. So those are some of the quick high points.
And when petitioning and all those dates.
Absolutely.
Tish, can you add to that?
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
one more question, yes.
So I worked in the trenches for a long time, and what I was realizing was that the elected officials who I looked up to were aging out. And for me, the concern was about institution building and maintaining those institutions. And I was concerned, and I was beginning to see gentrification basically wipe out our institutions. And I took on, which is the story of my life, this big development in central Brooklyn, which I knew would just put gentrification on steroids. And I just decided to challenge it. Everybody knows it was the arena in Brooklyn, the Barclays Arena. And I fought it for 10 years all the way to the Supreme Court. And that sort of elevated my voice. And I was sort of passionate about that issue because, again, where that arena stands in Brooklyn, at the crossroads of Brooklyn, there were homes of poor people. And they demolished those homes to build a basketball arena. And then the housing was just not affordable. And so I raised my voice. And because I felt strong about that issue, I felt strong about stability, making sure that people have a home, and protecting the rights of marginalized and vulnerable populations, and making sure that the law equally applied to everyone and everyone was accountable for violating the law.
So not all the times when you're raising your voice do you see the face, but in raising your voice, your face is known and your name is known. So sometimes you have to do the behind the scenes work to get to the front stage.
Exactly.
So
The next question I have is, how do you get young people educated in school about civics and understanding the power and importance of democracy and their voice in it?
Okay, so we're going to do a short answer on this one because we're almost out of time. So Siobhan and then Tish, and then we're going to do our wrap up.
So this is the advocacy. So sisters that are watching, this is when you advocate to your school board about curriculum. It is important to get history and civics in. Listen, remember that how a bill becomes a bill? We've got to go back to the basics. So that should be in elementary school. The other thing is identifying organizations that work with young people. The local NAACP, the youth and college divisions, those organizations help us to expand civics and that kind of education for young people.
You got to bring them closer to an issue. Listen, all the kids who are marching now because they want accountability with police killings, they're nothing but young people. And young people need to understand that every movement, every struggle in this nation didn't start with elected officials. It started with young people. Educate them. And as my sister said, civics in the classroom.
Last question is from me. So Forbes had these 7 or 8 P's that every entrepreneur has to go. So we're a Chamber of Commerce. They said you have to be passionate, you have to persevere. So in politics, in the winning of politics, what's a P that you need to make sure you know? Is it policy? Is it pumps to make sure you have the right shoes on your feet? What's a P that's worked for you? Real quick, what's a P for you, Siobhan?
Persistence and preparation.
I love it. Letitia.
Peace. Despite all of the noise, despite all of the criticism, stand in your place and have peace in your heart and your soul, and know that you're there for another purpose.
Wow. Well,
Amen.
you have brought such joy to my life. Both of you, please give our National President, Beverly Smith, my love. Please give our governor, and please tell him he has done a wonderful job. I would vote for him if we didn't have Joe Biden. But
Oh, Lord.
thank you so much for joining us. We love you and we wish you the best. And how can people get in touch with you really quickly? Is there a way that the public can reach you? Siobhan, what's the
Absolutely. www.delta4womeninaction.org.
That's Delta, the number 4, womeninaction.org. And Letitia, where should people, if they would like to reach you or someone in the governor's office?
All they need to reach out is to the New York State Attorney General's office at www.New York State Attorney General at newyorkstate.gov.
It's been my honor and pleasure to know you in this setting, but certainly to know you behind the scenes. God bless you. May you continue working. Thank you so much.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Everybody, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Okay, thank you. And you've just seen such a wonderful segment. We're so grateful that we had New York State Attorney General Letitia James, and we had also with us Siobhan Arlene Bradley from D4 Women in Action. And we hope that you'll join Global Black Women. We call it GBWCC. It's a movement. You can go to globalblackwomencc.org. And for the first 20 people that join, the 20th one who joins between now and tomorrow this time, not only will you get a discount of 10% using the code Black Women, but the 20th person who joins will also get a half an hour with one of our business experts. Thank you so much. We're ready for our next segment.
Wow, what a powerful segment. We want to thank the members of our first panel who shared such wisdom. We got a lot of nuggets out of the business of winning in politics. Now, we are going to move into our next session, and that session is titled Business Being Fiscally Fit and Free. But before we start, we have a short video.
Hi, I'm Gwen Franklin, founder and CEO of Be Lifted Up, Inc., a proud small business member of the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. 42% of all businesses in the United States are owned by women. 50% of these businesses are owned by women of color, generating $422 billion in revenue annually. More specifically, 21% of women-owned businesses are owned by Black women. Black women business owners are the fastest growing segment of female minority business owners. Sounds like an opportunity. When women succeed in business, it's not only a personal victory, but it contributes to the overall economy. The Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce is here to assist with resources and research, with strategic alliances, with mentorships, with networking opportunities, and all that. It's time to position for success.
And we're getting ready for our next segment. We're going to position ourselves for success. And one of the reasons we came together was that we could be positioned collectively so that we could connect, we could collaborate, and we could also celebrate our wonderful Black womanhood as business owners and entrepreneurs. We're joined in this segment by Sharon Epperson, and Kimberly Fogg is going to be joining us, and also our sister friend, Zinzi Dillon. And so I want you to join me in welcoming them. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm just gonna, Sharon, your CNBC personal finance correspondent. And thank you, we know you've been on assignments, but you're with us today. And we feel this is an assignment to have you with us. Can you tell us what a personal finance correspondent really focuses on? And then we're going to have a wonderful discussion with our two sisters. What do you do?
Well, what I try to do every day, Ambassador, is try to help people find better ways to manage, to grow, and to protect their money. And I spend my time talking about how people can get themselves into financial trouble, sometimes because they took some wrong missteps, and sometimes because they didn't have a choice, and what they can do to overcome that, as well as how they can continue to invest and grow their money. And then one of the most important pieces is, once you have something, how do you hold on to it? How do you make sure that you can continue to have that and create a legacy of financial strength for yourself and for your loved ones?
Hit on everything we're going to hit on in this segment, everything that we're about with the Global Black Women, because we're trying to create generational, intergenerational wealth so that every generation doesn't start all over and say, I'm broke, busted, and disgusted, but how we invest, how we build on. But we also have two other wonderful guests with us, Zinzi Dillon, because we're global now. We're a global chamber of commerce. Yesterday, We Do Africa had a similar summit, and they talked about ways that we can invest in Africa, in the mining industry, and in the gold industry. So Zinzi, welcome, and tell us who you are and what does Carmel Capital do, please. We need to open her mic, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ambassador Suzan. I am Zinzi Dillon. To my sisters and the viewers, Zinzi Dillon, I am the CEO and founder of Carmel Global Capital. I'm also the Goodwill Ambassador for the African Union Economic Development Agency. This is an agency which is an arm of the African Union responsible for the economic development on the continent. It's all about infrastructure. How do we build our own infrastructure? How do we build our own systems in terms of free movement of people and goods from one country to another? And before that, I was in banking all my years, corporate and investment banking, Reserve Bank. So I do have over 35 years banking experience. Included in there is more than 20 years in the boardroom, working with different boards. I'm actually sitting on one of the boards in Zimbabwe, which is a listed company. In terms of
you're a heavy sister, so we got to come back to you too, because banking is an area that we want to talk about with Black women, and we want to thank you. For those who don't know, the African Union is powerful. I served when I was ambassador next to Ambassador Michael Battle, who was the ambassador for the African Union. That's all of the countries sub-Saharan, and so we thank you for being the Goodwill Ambassador there. But I want to get to Kimberly Fogg, because you're a philanthropist. How does a Black woman get into philanthropy? We just spoke recently with Gatsby Brown in Atlanta, who has a philanthropy company. But how do you get there? It means you must have enough money or enough sense to get there. So what does it take to be a philanthropist? Uh-oh. 1 second, we need to open your mic too. 1 second. Can we open? I think you have to press the unmute button.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon, Ambassador Suzan, and good afternoon, sisters and brothers who are participating, and to all the speakers. I'm so happy to be here. It's funny, yes, I am a philanthropist, and what it takes is, it's just a gift from God. And once you have been asked to provide whatever it is, we're doing access to clean water, connectivity for our children, it just seems like all of the doors open in order for you to be able to fulfill that mission. So that's how I actually became a philanthropist.
So Sharon, we all are born on a birthday, and we all have a day that we leave this earth. What should we be doing from the youngest years to the more senior years, is what I call seasoned years where I am? What are some of the things Black families need to be doing, and Black women specifically, when you have money in your hands?
Well, I think the first thing is to think about where you're going to put the money and how you're going to use the money. And I think that can start at the toddler age of talking about that, making sure that young people at a very early age know that there's a difference between what you need money for to be able to survive and to be able to thrive, and what you want money for. And to be understanding that we are living in a certain way that is within the financial means that we have, and we're not going to go beyond that. We're not going to borrow money in order to live a certain lifestyle. Probably is not the one that we should be living. Try to live within our means or even below our means to make sure that we always have a cushion for that time when something unexpected happens, whether that's a medical emergency, whether that's something happens to a family member or a home, or whether we're in the middle of a pandemic. So I think that there are things that we can all do at every age, but it starts with living within your means and really understanding what you need your money for and what you want your money for.
I'm
And
inviting you into our family reunion. We want you to talk to all the millennials in our family. But no, really, you do have to make some decisions early in life. And one of the reasons I was able to go through school so well was because I didn't have any financial debt. I didn't have any loans. And that freedom is what we want to talk about, fiscal fitness and freedom. Zinzi, we always talk about access to capital, but you are where capital is. So talk to us about being in the banking industry for so long. And what did you see, particularly as Black women came to you or through the banks? What was the need that you saw that was most prevalent?
The biggest need was coming up with a bankable project, right, which takes us to enterprise development. There is a gap in terms of information and the skills that are needed to come up with a project that is bankable. There is no shortage of money. There is shortage of bankable projects. How do we come up with a project that we put on the table and money will be running after it? So that's one point. The other point is I am just looking at, women, we are the ones who are really doing a lot of transactions in the home, in our personal space, in our businesses. Where is that money being banked? Because what we don't own, we don't control. We are controlled. So how do we start as women come together in unity and set up our own bank? How do we start with what is in our hands? We don't have to look for big money. If I'm just looking at the numbers, the black hair industry, it's about $2.5 billion here in the US. So if we just take about 10% of that, we are on about $250 million. We can start a bank.
I think
right.
When you find a bankable business or industry to go into, Kimberly, you decided on an industry that you were going to focus on for your sustainability and to be a philanthropist. How did you decide which industry to come up with in terms of your philanthropy?
Well, I actually kind of opened it up because I wanted to see the women that were out there that had these amazing ideas, had these amazing businesses, but did not have the opportunity to get funding or to even be looked at as investors. So I really was looking at women that were actually the women that had businesses that they were starting, and they were going back into their communities to actually help to reinvest into the economy, help reinvest into creating jobs and everything. So when I looked at, those types of women that could not only provide jobs, in their local and national, but could also provide jobs in the global markets. And if we had those kind of women that we got investors to look at them through a new lens, that they had value in the market, those are the women that we really based, who we were looking for to help with providing access to jobs, providing access to funding for our communities that we work in.
Thank you. So Sharon, Susie Orman kind of has this public television market right now. We're so glad you're at CNBC, but she talks similarly to you in terms of how we save up so we'll have something to invest. Both Zinzi and Kimberly were talking about reinvesting. So these are some R's I want to ask you. What's the R that's missing? We're talking about reinvesting. We're talking today about re-emerging from where you were. People now talk about rebranding, repivoting. What's an R word? Is there an R word that's important for your personal investing?
I think it's important right now to reimagine what your financial future is going to look like. I think that many of us have been hit hard by this pandemic and by this time, and not realizing what we had or how little we had. And so if you are realizing now that you didn't have a cushion, or if you're realizing now that there are so many opportunities in the stock market that I didn't even realize I had access to because of my company and the retirement plan I have through my company, or because I didn't realize that I could be investing in an IRA on my own. And now I have a little extra and I can do something with that. Or this is not the industry I need to be in. Whatever my career path was, now that industry is having a lot of trouble. And it's going to be hard for me to find a job in that particular industry. What skills do I have? Can I reimagine a new career for myself, a new source of income for myself? So I think that this pandemic has made it essential that people reimagine where they are and where they want to go, and come up with new ways as possible to get there.
That's awesome. One of the things I was saying in the first segment that we did is we partnered with another organization that makes PPE equipment, and we created 25 Black women-owned distributorships because they need PPE equipment. We've got women. Let's put it together and reimagine what we can do to make some profit. So Zinzi, you've been in the banking world. You made some decisions to come now to Carmel. What was it that you reimagined that you needed to do so that you came to and formed Carmel Capital, Global Capital?
So for me, the first thing was I saw some of the exclusions within the banking system itself. And looking at the architecture and the architects of the banking system, they were not us. So the banking system was actually meant to exclude to a certain extent through the credit scoring models and all that. So it was really about how do I start helping people build banks that will serve us, banks that will come up with innovative models, credit models that speak to us, because some of those credit models, they don't talk to us. To a certain extent. Now, so those are really some of the issues. And also when you come in, you already have a number. So this number is really called risk, and high risk, high return. Therefore you pay more. So how do we start now reimagine, I like that word, the whole banking system as women? How do we start creating our own? So that's really my mission. My mission is, how do I help women set up banks?
I love it. So your word is recreate. How do we recreate something that doesn't exist? Sharon, I'm gonna come back to you for a second, because there are these three main credit systems that look at our finances and they rate us, whether we can buy the home, whether we can buy the car, whether we can afford the tuition. What is your feeling about that? And what is the alternative if they're not the strongest?
Are you talking about the credit reporting systems and your credit score to determine?
Yeah.
So I think everyone should do a checkup on their finances every couple of months, sometimes every month, but definitely 3 times a year at least. And that is one place to go is to annualcreditreport.com. It's a free website. It gives you a copy of your credit report from each of the different credit bureau agencies, whether that's Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion. You want to see what they say about your credit and make sure that there are no errors there. Make sure that it is really reflective of where you are, because often you're going to need to correct that to lift your score. The other thing is to actually read your credit card statements and your bank statements to see what your credit score is. They now have to put it on there. You don't necessarily have to go to annualcreditreport.com, and you certainly don't have to pay anybody to get a copy of your credit score to see where you stand. And I think when we talk about finance, whether it's financing something like an investment that we want to do, whether it is figuring out where we want to donate and do our charitable giving, we need to know, or our own financial health, we need to know where we stand. And the best way to know where you stand is to definitely check your credit and make sure you know what your credit score is and where you need to go to make sure that you do qualify for being able to get the lending or the financing that you need, or even in some cases to get the job that you want. A lot of people are looking looking at your credit score.
or the apartment or whatever. So we're going to be coming to you for questions as well. If you have a question, please put it in the chat box or in the Q&A. And in a few minutes, Cynthia is going to come and we're going to take some of your questions. Also, let us know where you're sharing with us from, what the city is. If you're watching on YouTube, and most of you are, please like us, share us, subscribe to us, and please stay in touch. You can also comment and we'll be able to read your comments. But we thank you. We want you to also join the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. You can go to globalblackwomencc.org. And for the 20th one who joins between now and tomorrow, you will get a half an hour with one of our experts that has shared today. But you need the code for a 10% discount that says Black Women, all in caps, and we'll get 10%. Kimberly, what's your baby? What are you focusing on when you talk about fundraising or being sustainable or being a philanthropist? What's your baby? Who are you hoping to raise funds for?
I'm hoping to raise funds for any Black woman that has her business, wants to bring opportunities to their community. And one of the things that I love about what you're doing, Ambassador Suzan, and what the other women, is that we have to come together in order to create and build each other up. And I love that reimagine, because a lot of times when we're talking to our women business owners or women business entrepreneurs, is that they don't imagine themselves going to investors and asking for money or asking for what they're worth. As women, we always shortchange ourselves, right? So when we create these communities of women, we can create like think tanks so that you have sisters that can say, no, don't ask for $100, ask for $1,000, okay? Create like incubator programs so that we can help lay the foundation so that, the women can be successful out of the gate. Create accelerator programs so that, now that you've got the tools that you need, now you're ready to go to these investors. So, I'm looking for women who have great ideas, we call them titans, because we are all titans. We are just these amazing women who if somebody just gave us a hand up, oh my gosh, the sky is not the limit.
All right. Well, Cynthia,
yes. Ambassador, can I jump in? Because I think Kimberly brought up a really important point, and we definitely need to lift each other up. But we also, as we do that, need to recognize our worth among one another. So
yes.
We're sisters helping sisters does not mean that the sister needs to pay you half of what you normally get paid because she's your sister.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
We need to be supporting one another fully and supporting them, and then also making sure that we are sponsoring them, that we are shouting their names from the rooftops to everyone that is in our network, but at their fair value, at their full value, at their full potential. And I think, I know it's difficult times, but I'm thinking particularly as, you were asking, Kimberly, what does it take to be a philanthropist? Every single woman, every single person here can be a philanthropist, even if very little at this time. How are you planning for when you have it? How are you getting it? Where are you giving it? What is your plan? And so, again, I just,
that's awesome.
I think that's important, because I often, and I find myself falling in that trap. I can't say I've never done it, but we've all helped me out and give. No, this advice is not free. I'm a lawyer, consultant, businesswoman, financier, philanthropist, and what I'm advising you on costs money. So
stay right there.
My entrepreneurial activity in that way as well.
Exactly.
Right.
That's
correct.
Your fair value, and our hashtag is Black Women, the number 4 Black women. And we want you to really stay on that point. I started ministry as a pastor, and we would go and it would be time for payment. And they say, we can't afford to pay you. No, you have to, because we are worth something. We have given, we have rendered services, and my value is strong. So I want you to stay there. We're going to come back to that, but we do have a question from our audience. Cynthia Barnes is our questionnaire. Can you share with us the first question, please? And your mic is still muted.
I had a couple people ask, what's the criteria for whether or not you have a bankable product?
Oh, that's a good one. So Zinzi, you brought that up. If you can give us a short and sweet, what's the criteria for having a bankable product?
So it's a bankable project. It's about demonstrating that you have the right leadership to be able to drive that business. You have the right projections. So the projections with underlying assumptions that can be tested, right?
Mhm.
So that's important. And with your market, how are you going to make money? And your marketing channel. So the whole business model and technology, do you have all those, your resource model? So it's really about demonstrating that you are ready to run this business. You've done your market research, you've done your projections, you'll be able to deliver on those projections. Because if an investor put in their money, they need to be able to get the confidence that they'll get back their money. So it's really, again, about our thinking, reprogramming ourselves. How do we start reprogramming ourselves? And the most important thing, don't go and just buy any strategy online. You were created uniquely. There is an assignment for you. There is a project, there's a business for you. What is that business? What have you been called to do? And that which you have been called to do, you are wired for success for it. Some people, they want to come and talk other people's strategies and business models. You can just see that this person is talking from the head. It's not coming from within them. So it's important to locate what we have been called to do and what we are wired to do. The other point is, the new oil. We are talking about the new norm, but the new oil is unity. As women, I think we need to support one another. And how do you, because being successful on my own, I can do it, but I can only feed my household. Here we are talking about feeding nations. It's about our inheritance. It's about our children. How do we as women come together in unity, in one accord, singleness of purpose? It's about doing business and doing it in a big way.
So I'm going to go to
Excellent.
Sharon.
Thank you.
Sharon, if we're rewired for success, how does a Black woman rewire herself for success on the personal level before she even goes into starting the business? What is important to make sure you're rewired and how you're rewired?
Well, I mean, you want to make sure you're financially secure, and that you are, that you're making the right moves with your own personal finances before you're starting the business or as you're trying to start a business. And I think it's also important to keep your finances in different buckets, and definitely your personal finances and your entrepreneurial, your business, your startup finances separate, that you're not using your personal credit card to do certain things, that you're setting yourself up for financial success by protecting what you already have and what you've built personally. So I think that's a good place to start. And I would also underscore, using as many resources as possible that are our resources, that are women of color, speaking to other women about how to do it, so that yes, you do definitely have your own vision and the way that you want to pursue it, but some of the logistical things and the nuts and bolts of trying to get your business plan together and get financing and places to go locally, statewide, nationally for lending, for financing, that's been done by other people and other women before, and utilize some of those nonprofit resources that can give you the education and the counseling that you may need to start and build your business.
And that's what we're going to be doing with the Global Black Women. Quarterly, we're going to be bringing women and men, people who can help us, particularly grants as opposed to loans, and help us to get our businesses in order from start to finish. So we've learned about reimagining, we've learned about rewiring, and there's another R, because I'm going to have to release this panel. It's been so awesome and so good, but we hope that you'll come back again. But most of all, how can they contact you, Sharon, really quickly? How can they contact you?
The best way, you can follow me on all social media at Sharon Epperson, Sharon_Epperson. You can also find me at cnbc.com/Sharon Epperson. You'll find all my stories there, and as well as ways to connect with me on social media.
Awesome. Kimberly, where can they find you really quickly?
Please email me kfogg, KFOGG at gspartnerships.org. I'm on Facebook. You can look up our WAPEC on Facebook, our Titans Tank. So please reach out to me anytime. I'd love to talk to you.
I love it. And Zinzi, where can they find you?
You can find me on www.camelglobalcapital.com.
Love it. And we thank you for joining us. You have been the bomb. We could have either
Thank
one of
you.
you for the whole show, but thank you for sharing with us for Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. And we do hope you'll come back again, but we wish you a prosperous and blessed new year. Thank you so much, Zinzi, Kimberly, and
Thank
Sharon.
you.
Have a great
Thank
day.
you, sisters.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Ambassador.
God bless you.
God bless you. Big hugs.
Big hugs back to you. And we're ready for our next panel.
Excellent. We do thank our guest panelists for their best practices on how to stay physically fit and free. And we loved hearing about that new oil that will help us protect and grow our money for generational wealth. So that was so wonderful. But now let's get ready for a powerful segment on faith-led, faith-based, and civic Black women-led businesses. This segment is brought to you by one of our amazing sponsors, our Daily Bread Ministries. It will be led by our great and wonderful moderator, Ambassador Suzan.
Thank you, Cynthia Terry. We call it CJ. I'm Suzan, she's CJ. And we thank you again. We're coming to you from the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. This production is all from start to finish Black women owned, led. So from the behind the scenes, whom I call our zoomologists, to in front of the camera, everyone is a Black woman. And we want to welcome you, Joyce Dinkins and Tony Draper, and our wonderful Virginia W. Harris, who is the national president of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. And we're going to just start with you. Just tell us who you are. What does the National Coalition of 100 Black Women do? Welcome all of you.
Thank you, Ambassador CJ, for the wonderful opportunity to be part of the discussion today on the state of Black women. I am the 9th national president of the National Coalition of 100 Black Women that consists of 61 chapters in 27 states. Our membership is over 3,500, and we advocate on behalf of Black women and girls in the areas of health, education, economic empowerment, and public policy changes.
Awesome. I was the president of the founding chapter of New York Coalition of 100 Black Women. So we're sisters, and I am so delighted to see you. Tony Draper, please tell us who you are.
Hello, everyone. I'm Frances Tony Draper, the CEO and publisher of the Afro-American newspapers, headquartered in Baltimore, with offices also in Washington, D.C., and I am so happy to be here today.
And you're also a faith leader, correct?
I'm also the pastor of the Freedom Temple AME Zion Church in Baltimore.
Welcome. We're happy to have you. And Joyce Dinkins, who are you and what do you do?
Ambassador Suzan, thank you so much for this amazing gathering. I am the executive editor of what is known as the Voices Collection at our Daily Bread Ministries. And I advocate for people by supporting them, acquiring them, enable stories. That's a little bit.
Wonderful. Well, we're happy to have all of you with us today as we come to this segment on faith-led and civic organizations, because Black women have been the backbone, are the backbone of this country, but we also have that song, We've Come This Far by Faith, leaning. And so we want to just ask first to each of you, how important is faith in what you do? And what are you seeing on the trends with Black women who come before you? So Tony, would you start for us? What do you see and who do you see coming before you?
Faith is central to what I do. The founder of the Afro was my great-grandfather, said a newspaper succeeds because it believes first in God, then in itself, and then in the present generation. So I lead from my faith, understanding that there's nothing I can do in and of myself. So it's very, very important. And because I'm not ashamed of the gospel, we lead our staff meetings in prayer. We know that we are covered in prayer, and we can't do, as I said, anything in and of ourselves. I think it's very, very central, at least in our business, to what we do and how we do it.
In Virginia, civic organizations aren't necessarily faith organizations, but are you finding that faith is important for folks, particularly in these times of COVID?
Extremely important. we have had a excommunical team that on a weekly basis provide inspiration and encouragement to our members and the constituency that we serve. And it is so important right now because people are dealing with so many different issues, staying home, the unemployment rate, deaths of family members and not being able to gather to put them away. So there are so many issues going on, but you ask us about balance, and my balance for me is through my faith and my fitness and my family. Those are the things that keep me grounded.
The 3 F's: faith, fitness, and family. So we thank you for sharing that. I bring greetings from Barbara Kerson, who's our new president of the New York Coalition. And we had, for the first time, prayer meetings by request on a monthly basis. And we did them by phone, but people are crying out for that faith. Joyce Dinkins, you work for a faith organization, Our Daily Bread and the Voices Collection. I have the privilege now of being a consultant with you, but how important is faith in what you do? You're in the publishing business. How important is it?
Faith is everything. You know, the scriptures say we walk by faith and not by sight. And certainly that's been true in terms of developing content that represents underrepresented and misrepresented African-American people in the Christian publishing industry. It begins and ends with prayer, and prayer all the way through, and constantly listening to God as he guides me to navigate the development of content, as he guides me into relationships, as he did with you and me, and as we work together, because we have difficult and have had difficult instances, issues, talking about the Black community, and I would say Black, Indigenous people of color. These issues we cannot overcome in our own strength. So it is faith, prayer. You know, you mentioned we come this far by faith, and we have a special edition, This Far by Faith, which is the legacy of the Black church.
You have a copy of it that you can hold up that's handy?
I do.
Okay, let's see that, because this is the sponsor segment, so you can hold up whatever you want. This Far by Faith devotional. And we're working on a collection from Black women called Rhythms of Rest. So I want to thank you. So let me ask all of you, because it's faith, it's family, it's fitness. You're a 5th generation leader, Francis Tony Draper, but you found even the paper industry couldn't do it alone. So you formed collaborations, which is what we've been talking about, connections and collaborations. Talk to us about what the newspaper industry is doing as they're facing not just COVID, but just the shifting of where the industry is going. What have you done to come together?
Well, speaking of faith, it takes a lot of faith to be in this business today, but we're no longer a newspaper, we're a media company. And so the Afro made the shift a long time ago. And so people say, well, you're a newspaper, aren't newspapers dying? Well, some people like to have a newspaper in their hands, so we still produce a legacy product. However, most of our engagement is through social media and on afro.com. And so those are the places where we post first. Our stories go up first. And so I was so happy to see Letitia James. She is our headline story in this week's Afro. You were in last week.
Thank you very much for the press and the time. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you. And I think that's important too, because the Black press is where we get our first press, when the white press may not even recognize us or even know our name. So let me thank you for all the years. It wasn't just last week, for all the years. But Virginia, what do you see in terms of making a shift? You're national president of National Coalition, and like you said, over 3,500. What did you have to do with this new era? Was it just COVID that got you started, or did you see that you had to change some things along the way?
Well, I was elected in September 2017. So we started making structural changes from that point, because in order for the organization to be sustainable and relevant, you have to make sure that you're changing with the times. But our organization has always been led through invocation, and we close out with benediction because it's important. And I think that most women organizations, Black women organizations that I'm involved in, prayer is part of their agenda because that's important to us. But the other thing is that A lot of people feel like nonprofits do not operate as a business.
Right.
That is
Let's talk
far
about
from
that
being
right
true.
there. Mhm.
First and foremost, nonprofits are different than corporation. We have a society need that have a social impact. However, corporation, they want to do something that they can solve problems and add value to the organization. But when a nonprofit make a profit, it doesn't have to be in the margin. But I think that it's important for all of us to know there's 4 key elements that I think nonprofits do, which is strictly business. You have to have great staff. You have to look for a talented individual to manage your operation, because at the end of the day, the staff are the ones making the difference in your organization. You have to invest in good technology to make sure that you have the technology to manage your digital, your data, so that when your funders are asking you for the information, it's available. You also have to invest in marketing. Make sure your brand is solid and your social media and your website content is great. And finally, you have to treat our donors like customers.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So Joyce Dickens, to your point, you're touching almost 1 million people with the distribution of Our Daily Bread and the Voices collection. Your material gets in so many hands historically. We've always read that book that was in the back of churches. That's how I found out about Our Daily Bread. So what changes are you seeing have to be made in this generation? You would mail them out and distribute them. What changes are you seeing that need to be made now?
I'm going to show you that this is another new special edition, Celebrate Hope, Looking Back, Stepping Up. And this will release in January. It's available for free, as all of our editions, Our Daily Bread are. But we'll also release simultaneously a digital reading plan so that younger, or I'll say mobile readers, which includes many generations, be able to pull it up from their mobile phone. And then we also are making changes, and we have a huge push in terms of other media, film, making it available by email, film devotionals with, we have a program called In Pursuit of Jesus that is a huge documentary style piece. And
you're doing podcasts now as well.
And yes, thank you for reminding me. We're doing podcasts. And in fact, I believe we're going to be hearing from you on Where You From. That's whereyufrom.net. You can find all of this at odb.org. But we have podcasts, and with the change in platform and in the distribution of the content, we also are changing some of the voices. So recently I acquired with this edition 30 younger writers, but we have writers across cultures, across spectrums, and actually the devotional itself, we believe, reaches 60 million people a year globally.
That's 60 million. So I want you to just hear that. 60 million
in 57 languages. And this is boasting in what the Lord has done, because that started with, and I think this should be inspirational to all of us, that started with one individual who listened to the Lord and by faith prayed, surrendered himself, Dr. Imar Dahan, and asked God what would he have him to do. And that began a radio ministry that turned into the digital that we have now, and media, and it's global.
So I want to just stay right there, because it's about a vision, it's about a purpose, it's about asking God what we would have us do. What do you feel? Are you doing your calling right now, Tony? Are you in your calling? Are you in what you believe God would have you do? And Virginia, I'm going to ask you the same question.
So I believe I'm in my calling, first as pastor of the Freedom Temple Church, as well as publisher of the Afro. In both places, I'm privileged to deliver a message. And so a message of hope to our readers, a message of agitation sometimes to our readers, a message of hope also to our parishioners and to our community. So we serve the community. And so that is what I'm passionate about, Sujay. I'm passionate about serving the community. I'm passionate about investing in younger people. I'm passionate about getting accurate, complete information out to people. I'm passionate about working to make a change. And that's what I mean by serving communities. I'm really passionate about that and passionate about making connections and passionate about collaborations. So all of those things I'm able to do. And so, yes, I'm fulfilling my passion.
Right on our C's. So it's connections, collaboration. And Virginia, what about your calling? You know, where do you end up? Are you in the place where you think you're supposed to be for this season? And Fanderi Bowman says that you're always a blessing, Tony Draper, in the chat box. So Virginia, that question to you.
Well, you know, Ambassador Sujay, early on during the outstage of the coronavirus pandemic, I was very prayerful about changing the direction of the organization and if I was the right person at the right time. And I had a conversation with my pastor, who just happened to be running for Georgia's U.S. Senate, Reverend Raphael G. Warnock. And he said, most definitely, Sister Virginia Harris, you are in the right place because you're the right person to carry this organization during this pandemic. And I know that you and your team will figure out what you need to do differently. And we've done that. And our programs haven't suffered. The communities that we serve have not suffered because our chapters have stepped up and they have taken the responsibilities, are continuing to work virtually and making sure that our constituents and our young people, we have over 3,000 young people in our mentoring program, that they are served during this difficult time in their lives. So I do believe that my calling, because for years my calling has been to impact the lives of Black women and girls. And that's what we're doing now.
I love it so much. And he's my classmate, so Reverend Raphael, and I've preached it.
We'll have to talk after today, Ambassador.
Mrs. King had me preach the last sermon that she was alive for at Ebenezer for the MLK. So I'm very fond of the church and of your pastor. And so best wishes, certainly. So let's talk about this. In the book Sacred Success by one of the authors that I'm reading now, she says, sometimes work becomes a narcotic, because we do so much of it that we make it seem like we're happy doing it all the time. So my question is, are you a work addict, or do you find some balance in some other places in your life? Joyce, can you share with us? And all of you have questions as well. You can put your question in the chat box or in the Q&A box, and we'll have time at the end of this segment. Joyce, are you an addict?
I am addicted to my calling to serve writers and to connect, particularly Black writers, and many of them women, to the channels where they can develop their content and to be seen and heard. I am addicted to that. I will say that one of the outlets for my addiction is to work with organizations like Publishing in Color, and to more editors, Black editors, Indigenous people of color editors in Christian publishing. And so one of the ways that I get help with my addiction is to mentor and empower others. And so I have a great deal of rest and peace that I find in offloading some of the privilege that I have to work in a closed field to Black, Indigenous people of color.
And I want people
those
to hear, I want to hold that for a second, Joyce, because I want people to really hear that she really has a ministry to women and men, but certainly Black women who can't always make a break or get a break into the publishing field. So she works with HBCUs at HBCU conferences, so that if you're an English major and you have a love for writing, where do you get your internship? Where do you get your skill and experience? So I want you to remember Joyce Dinkins at the Voices Collection and Our Daily Bread. Tony, we have to ask these questions answer them quickly. Tony, what do you do on the other side of work? And Virginia, what do you do on the other side of work? And then we're gonna have a question from Cynthia, which will be our last for this segment. Tony?
I'm a recovering addict and I minister to my husband, who holds me to, usually he let me, this is the exception, Ambassador, usually it's Fridays off.
Oh, wow. Okay, I love it. I love it. And Virginia, what do you do on the other side of work, or do you?
Well, prior to COVID, I played a lot of tennis, learning to play golf, and I read a lot. I'm an avid reader. I read everything.
All right. I do too, on the planes and whatever, but I'm a swimmer. And so I rediscovered, I swam with a group called the Harlem Honeys and Bears, which is an over 50 group. And I fell in love again with swimming. So anytime I'm on vacation, I try to find a pool in the hotel. But when I'm not on vacation, I find the Y or somewhere that has a pool. And then I have one in my backyard for the summer.
And the joys of my life are my 5 grandchildren. I have 2 in Atlanta and 3 in Houston, and I've not been able to see the 3 in Houston since the pandemic. So
okay, I
we're
understand.
trying to figure that out.
All right, and I have 2 grown sons now. Wonderful. Cynthia, time for one last question from the audience.
Say yes. So how can faith, community, business, and political leaders collaborate for economic growth in your communities?
Oh, I don't know if there's a short answer, but I'm going to ask you to take a stab, Tony, Virginia, and Joyce. How can we collaborate? Faith leaders, who else? Cynthia, faith leaders?
Community, business, and political leaders.
Well, I'll go ahead and start first. We have been working in partnership with all groups, faith leaders, businesses, putting together economic empowerment programs for these underserved areas in our community. And the 100 Black women have this wonderful program that started under our 7th national president called Sisternomics, that we have been providing for women in the communities for over 10 years now. And we find that that program is very well supported by the faith-based community, by corporation, and that's where we find the most funding and resources for that program.
Love it. So we have 75% of our new membership in the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce are business leaders and faith leaders. And in Tony's case, she's faith, business, and economics. So I'm going to ask you to answer yourself. How can we start working together and help you?
So I'm a connector. I know that's what my strength is. I'm a connector. And I think the word ambassador is intentionality. We have to be intentional about making connections and intentional about collaborations. So I try to surround myself and to be in places where there are other people that don't think like me all the time, that we can collaborate for the greater good of community. And because if we stay in our own silos, we'll get what we always get, which is not the result that we want.
Joyce, you have a quick answer to that?
Partnerships. It goes back to the very first segment, relationship building. And as you grow and gain opportunities, and we certainly do this, and I do this personally through Our Daily Bread and through my other connections in the industry, is to partner with people and look for opportunities to open the door and to share the wealth with others. At Our Daily Bread, Ambassador Sujay, you know, you are working with us and helping us with our partnerships.
Exactly. And I want to thank Our Daily Bread for not only being a sponsor, but letting me partner with them, letting me partner with each of you that have been on here. We just got a $1 million grant from Lilly Endowment to help 50 Black women in ministry intentionally advance and be placed in ministry. So where systems don't let us in, we're going to be game changers. And so I want to thank the Lilly Endowment and others who are partnering. And what the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce is doing is making connections, collaborations, and celebration of some dynamic Black women, which 3 of you are. Virginia Harris, Francis Tony Draper, and Joyce Dinkins. You're dynamite, dynamos. Didymus is what the Bible says. You're explosive and exciting. Thank you for being my guest today. And thank you, and may God bless you in your holidays. May you have a blessed and faith-filled season. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Sujay. Good to be with you all.
God bless you. Thank
you.
Wonderful. Another great panel. Thank you so much for this awesome dialogue, real talk in the area of faithpreneurship. Thank you so much. So now, are you ready to be inspired? Opal Staples will lead us in a moment of praise.
Faith thank you. I feel the need to say thank you, Lord. Oh, I just want to thank you, Lord. 'Cause you've been so good. I just think of how you've been so good. I'm really grateful that you've been. Oh, I think about it. I'm so grateful how you've been so good, and I just want to thank you, Lord. You've made a way, yes you have, over and over you made. You made a way. I'm so grateful that you made a way. Oh God, I just want to thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I've got to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, for 1,000 tongues just to say thank you, Lord. I just want to thank you, Lord. Even right now, I'm so grateful just to be in the midst of these women. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, Lord. I just want to say thank you. Oh, 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 oh. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for my health. Thank you for my strength. Thank you for my mind. Thank you for every struggle. It showed me how strong I am. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, oh, from the bottom of my heart I say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If I haven't said it all year, right now, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Ooh, ooh. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, that was so amazing. Thank you so much, Opal. We have been inspired with best practices and best principles, and now we have been inspired with praise. We thank you so much. I know during these difficult times, we can really feel the meaning of those words. Thank you, Lord. Wow. It also inspires us to believe that the best is still yet to come. Praise our God. That's wonderful. But can you believe that we're at a time where we are having our last session? This is our last session coming up But before we get into that segment, which is called Sister CEO, Black Women Creating and Entering New and Emerging Markets, please direct your attention to a video from another one of our amazing sponsors, You Experience.
Due to the pandemic, tens of thousands of American college students will be taking their courses remotely.
They're missing out on the college dorming experience because of online learning. However, two Princeton grads, they're trying to change that.
Enter the U Experience.
You Experience.
You Experience.
The You Experience.
This would theoretically allow students to have that college experience of socializing while also learning.
Could possibly change how we see things the way we saw Airbnb change your take on a hotel.
What do I want to get out of the U Experience?
What ways do I plan to contribute to the community of the U Experience?
Ways that I can contribute to the U Experience.
It's gonna be a lot better than living in Missouri with my parents.
Please get this girl out of Virginia.
Hey, I'm Adam. Hey, I'm Chris. And I'm Lane, and we're the U Experience, a company creating physical communities for online college students. We're gonna show you exactly what our business has to offer.
And welcome back. Thank you, Opal, for that beautiful selection. And people want to know if you have a CD or how they can get in touch with Opal Staples. So please give us that information. And then our sponsor, our final sponsor was the U Experience. Now, with full disclosure, I got to let you know that that was my youngest son, the African-American male in that trio. And it's representative of what millennials are coming up with. This child has not had to ask me for a dime. He finished Princeton in 2017. So we're talking about 3 years, has not asked me for a dime, and is using his money to invest and now sponsor his mother's show today. So those are kinds of things we're going to be looking at. What's new? What are things you have to be thinking about? There are kids who can't go to college and have the social life, so they can be in the bubble like the NBA and have their courses, do their coursework, and live in luxury. So that's called the U Experience, and we want to thank them for sponsoring us today. But we want to thank you for staying with us for this final segment, New and Emerging Markets. Where are Black women absent? Where are we? What are we doing? And so we're going to meet a dynamic team as they come together today. I want to introduce Ann McNeil, who's the founder of NABWIC, and she'll tell you more about that. I want to introduce Kimberly Naylor. She's the current president of NABWIC. And then we want to introduce Brenda Campbell, USSMC Corp. And the Enhancement Foundation. But I want to start with Natalie Jenkins, who's our millennial, coming out of a millennial sponsorship. We're going to start with you. We're going to give you the floor. Natalie Jenkins, tell us about you and Straight Jank and what it is and what you're doing.
Hi, everyone. I'm Natalie. I'm so excited to be here. I've learned so much from all these incredible women in business. So this is so inspiring to me as a young business owner. I am the CEO and founder of Strategink. We're a global communications firm. We support entrepreneurs, small businesses, and nonprofits with all of their comms efforts. So social media management, digital marketing, copywriting, all of that, how you communicate with your audiences, we help with it.
Well, thank you and welcome. You're our youngest and we're so glad to have you. Then can we meet Kimberly Naylor? Can you tell us who you are, what NABWIC is and what you're doing? We have to open her mic, please. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Kimberly Naylor, and I am the president of the National Association of Black Women in Construction. It is an organization where Black women are finding our space in this world of construction. It's been a great growing opportunity for me as the leader. We have brought on many new marketing strategies, hard hats and heels, and we're growing and continuing to make ourselves visible so that our communities are reflective of us as we see redevelopment in our neighborhoods. And I'm honored to be a part of this organization.
And we're honored to have you. And then we must go to the founder. I'm a founder, CEO, and you founder, CEO. We have to come to the founder. Ann McNeil, how are you? Please tell us about your vision and what this NABWIC is doing and who you are.
Absolutely. Ann McNeil, the master wealth builder, helping to build stronger and better lives and businesses. And as the founder of the National Association of Black Women in Construction, we are the voice of construction, not just Black women in construction, but we are the voice of Black women and the construction industry. And that voice is based upon 4 pillars for Black girls, junior high school, college, Black women in the public sector, Black women in the private sector, and then those of us who are actually in the industry in every area, whether we're in professional services, engineering, construction, laborers. And I always like to start with this. And this is a question for all of our listeners as we prepare to enter this conversation. Where else can a Black woman go with 5 or 6 kids who did not finish high school and make $15, $16, $17, $18, $19, $20 an hour and don't have to wait for her baby daddy?
All right.
Nowhere else but construction. And I am Ann McNeil. Thank you.
Thank you. So they're the voice, and Global Black Women, we are the voice and the choice for Black women.
Absolutely.
So we're partners now. And then finally, we want to introduce Brenda Campbell, our 4th panelist. Tell us who you are and tell us about USSMC Corp.
Well, good evening, ladies, and our Honorable Sujay. Okay, Ambassador Sujay, who is my partner, and I'm so excited for her. This has been awesome. USSMC is a management consulting company, and our areas of expertise are training, of course, professional development. We do have an IT and engineering side. Our company has been in business for 29 years. As of January coming up, 2021, of course, we will be in business for 30 years. Our mentorship, we have 7 young women right now who are mentors under our company. And we are working with them to mold them and help them to reach, and our theme is helping small businesses to reach their unlimited potential. We have been in several federal agencies, and you can go to our website and see where we have been. Thank you.
Awesome. So, we talk about legacy. You're going to be in 30 years, and Ann and Kimberly, you're helping hard hats and heels. I'm loving it. But Natalie, you are the legacy we prayed for. We prayed for another generation to be entering markets that we have not been. Dr. Seuss, that great philosopher, said, "Oh, the places you will go." And so you are going places. So tell us how people find you. So I'm a boomer. I'm seasoned. When in January, there'll be 30 years, and I'll be twice that in January in terms of age. So how does the boomer find you? And how do we know that we have a need for what you have in terms of services?
Sure. So you can find us at our website, www.strategenk.com. It's
Spell it out for us.
STRATEJENK. So you'll know if we can serve you, if you've got a business, if you have a project or idea coming up, and you aren't sure how to communicate it to the right people. So that's what we help you do, whether it's online, through your websites, putting together resources, digital content, anything related to how you reach the people that you want to reach, we're happy to help with.
And she was extremely helpful. When we needed our first project, we needed to reach the Washington, D.C. area press. We put a member on it, and Natalie got it done. In construction, people are asking, how did you come up with this concept? We see in New York scaffolding, and we see male hard hats. How did you come up with this concept that we needed to be in the construction industry? And how did you start? I'm going to start with Ann McNeil, and then Kimberly, tell us what you're doing, some projects you're doing.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately, like many of the previous presenters that talked about God and, you know, being called, I was like, I was like the prophet that ran. So Isaiah 6:8, I ran from God for, in my 40 plus years of being in this industry, and God called me to do this, I ran for 15 years because I kept telling him, you don't know Black women. And by the way, I am also a Sarah. And, and so being, I have 5 businesses, 5. And I kept telling God, no, you must be talking to somebody else. So he slow walked me down. And so 10 years ago, when I read Isaiah 6:8, and he said, you know, who can I send who will go for us and speak for us? In my spirit, I had to surrender. And I said, here I am, Lord, send me. And so been in the construction industry, and I will share this with your listeners. I have an undergraduate degree in accounting, a master's in finance. And in the 70s, when I went to a trade school while working in corporate and with a family, my friends laughed. I went to a trade school to learn construction because my husband and I bought our first home. Then we bought the house across the street. Then we bought the house down the street, and we started repairing homes. My husband graduated valedictorian from our University of Florida Memorial with a degree in accounting along with myself. I graduated, thank you, Lordy. And so I married up, and my husband told me one day I came from work, he said, you know, if I had it to do all over again, I would not go to college. I was shocked. I said, what would you do? He said, I will go into construction. He said, think about it. These guys, they didn't finish high school, and we are paying them more in an hour than you make in a day. So like I said, I married up. So that's how I ended up into construction.
And Kimberly, what kinds of projects are you working on? And how does it make us fiscally free, a construction industry business?
Well, the construction industry is definitely the wealth transfer for women of color, because we can get on board, and the resources that we gain from this type of work, that we can impact our communities. I've worked in Detroit, Michigan, in building the Little Caesars Arena, our new stadium that came this way. I think it was in 2017. And last year, our NBA basketball team came to the city of Detroit. They needed a new training facility, and I was my business was selected to be part of that mentor protege program to actually build and do the drywall finishing for the gymnasium and the offices that they have in their training center. So I've been working on some high-end products, and I still work predominantly in the residential market. I just renovated a 1909 two-family flat Mexican style home. And I think the client spent over $260,000 on their project and just made a beautiful home for someone. So we do the model, you know, the remodeling as well. But I kind of got to dip it into here.
This at the end of each person that we say, wow, we say, you go, girl, and you go, because that is powerful. I'm going to come to our first partner. Before we even were fully incorporated, Carletta Birch introduced us to a woman down in Virginia named Brenda Campbell. She picked up the phone, and then we started our Zoom, and we've been glued together ever since. Brenda, tell us what USSMC Corp really does, and how do we get the big money, the industries that we've been absent from as Black women.
Okay. Well, first of all, we have been in business, as I mentioned earlier, for the 30 years in January, and we have been providing training to over 15,000 small businesses on behalf of the SBA. We've also worked in the SATCOM areas and industries. We've worked in the aeronautics industries. We've worked in the Bureau of Land Management areas. We've worked in the Department of Treasury. We've worked in, oh my goodness,
US. The absence of Black women?
In the areas of robotics, in the areas of SATCOM, in the areas of also in the areas of not in training, but in the areas of research and development. We need more women in the research and development area, aeronautics, if you will, in the aeronautics area where you have NASA, okay, and NOAA in the SATCOM area. We also are talking about terrestrial kinds of areas where you're working on things for the NASA areas and engineering, and also in the Department of Energy. We are looking for women to be more more active in those types of areas.
I love it. I appreciate it. So Natalie, you just finished college a couple of years ago. Congratulations. So when you're going to school now, there are so many options. There are people with robotics and drones. And how did you land on marketing, and what's your niche?
Sure. So I actually, when I was applying to schools, was very interested in both criminal justice and communications, which were like so different. But really, it just came down to what my natural skill sets were in and where I felt like I could provide the most value with what I was good at. So I love writing. I'm a great writer. I love communicating and helping people connect. So that's how I sort of landed on this marketing industry. And today, there are so many opportunities in marketing, especially in the digital media space, which is where we do a lot of our work. Every day, there are like, in the world, 8 billion people, over 8 billion people are online. So no matter what you do, your target audience is online, and it's important to know how to communicate with them. So that's how I landed there.
Generations, are you finding like your age group goes to an Instagram and our age group goes to what are you seeing in terms of the differentiators?
It definitely, younger age groups jump onto like newer apps and platforms a lot faster than older ones. And I'm slowly realizing sometimes I'm in the slower group in some apps. So I have my teenage niece, I call her and I tell her, when there's something new I need to learn, send it to me so I can get on all the new apps. But there's so much opportunity for everyone in so many different platforms.
We're going to give a shout out to the FBCG family also today. But I'm going to ask each of you, if you had to, particularly our founder and Kimberly and Brenda, if you had to now put a winning formula together, many years on this earth, many years of experience, and particularly now in your industries, if you had to say A plus B plus C equals a winning formula for Black women today, what would your A, B, and C be? Ann?
Know, like, and trust.
Know, like, and trust equals
Yes.
a winning formula. Okay,
Yes.
you want to elaborate just a little bit on that?
Well, what I find, we host a $1 billion lunch in NABWIC for the last 3 years every month. And what I'm finding is that my clients are doing business with us based upon the know, like, and trust factor. They will go out of their way, regardless of race, creed, or gender, to do business with those who they know, like, and trust.
Love it. I love it. Thank you. So that's the KNOW now. All right. Kimberly, what's your formula? A, B, and C equals a winning formula for Black women business owners.
Know your value. Know your value, know your worth. If you go into business without a real sense of yourself and know what your value is, you'll find yourself being undercut in the market, and you won't find yourself coming across as confident as you can to actually get the top deals. I find that many times because sometimes our corporate background, we might have been wounded. I call it raped by our corporate counterparts when we do all the groundwork, the grunt work, and then when it's time to shine, somebody else gets control of the project. So going into business for yourself as a Black woman, know your value, know your worth, so you can hold your ground and say, I can deliver this product.
I love it. I love it. Brenda, A, B, and C, what's a winning formula? 30 years now in this business. What's a winning formula?
Making sure that you understand the needs of the customer. Also understand that you must be prepared to do business. Also, as the young lady mentioned earlier about trust, it's very important that your customers trust you. And they trust you by the type of work that you're able to perform. If your work is top notch and if you prepare your team members to be successful, then your customers will trust you. Your customers will trust you based upon the quality of your work and the quantitative efforts of your work. Because when you go into government and when you go into different organizations, they must know that you're able to perform. And if you can't perform, they won't bring you back. So the key here is to make sure also that you provide a cost-effective solution for your customers.
Love it. You'll be able to ask questions as well. Put them in the chat box and also in the Q&A box. And at the end of the segment, we'll be coming to you. Have you failed before? And then how did you motivate yourself to get back up? Several years in business, different industries, different times. Did you fail or call it failure or did not succeed? And then how did you get yourself back up? And I'm going to do it 1, 2, 3. We're going to do like popcorn. And then Natalie, you can talk to us also about being a new business owner, what you felt was not successful. A, B, and C. We got to do this like popcorn, like they say. And
failed with trusting a partner that took $250,000, and I was able over the years to turn it around to be one of the best lessons I've ever learned.
Wow. Wow. Kimberly.
Fix and flipping in 2008 when I got caught with a portfolio of properties that I could not finance, and I had to carry over $276,000 worth of debt on the brinks of bankruptcy. Met with an attorney and an accountant, and we re-strategized things and turned it around. So I didn't have to file bankruptcy, had to release some of the properties, but I jumped right back into the construction industry from a more informed basics point of not to have too much indebtedness so that you could always float your business.
And how long did that take to get back on your feet?
That took a good 6 years.
Wow.
With the scoring where I needed it.
Wow. Brenda, is there a time that you can remember that was not as successful as you thought? And then how did you motivate and get back in the game?
Well, one of the things that happened to me was similar to this young lady. We brought in someone that we thought we could help, we could help them. Since they helped us, we were trying to bring them into our organization because they were a former customer, and the customer that we thought was who they, we thought if we brought a customer in, they would understand the industries that we would try to go into. Come to find out, this customer went behind our back and was stealing customers from us. So you have to be very, very careful who you bring into your circle, because your business is your livelihood. And so you have to be very, very careful who you bring into your organizations. You can't trust everybody in your business because, again, if you don't bring in the right match, that's critical. You got to bring in the right match of people, or people don't always have the best intentions.
Natalie, you're new in the game, newer in this game. Is there a lesson you've already learned in your first couple of years?
I feel like I'm learning a whole lot in my first few years, probably more than so much in my first few years. But I think one of my biggest lessons so far has also been about, the people that you bring on projects with you and making sure they're going to stick with you through the end. Because sometimes I get stuck on projects where I've brought people on to help me complete the work, and then they don't finish it and I have to do all of the heavy lifting on everything. So that has been a huge lesson for me, is making sure I bring the right people on. But I've gotten really good at it now.
I see you. You're suave now. So your reputation was on the line, and so you had to finish it correctly. So I'm going to give each of you I like alliteration. So reimagine came up in the last segment. Reorchestrate, rebrand, repivot. What's an R that you're working on? A word that's with R is a research. What's an R that you need for your industry right now? Kimberly. Okay, Ann, please.
I would say reinvest. I am an investor and a volunteer with the National Association of Investors Corporation, better known as Better Investing. And I would say reinvest in the market.
Wow. Okay. Kimberly.
Redevelopment, look into your community and see where you can actually bring some solutions to your neighborhood, redevelop some opportunities there in the community.
I love it. Brenda?
Reinvent yourself, reinvent the company, reinvent the processes and procedures. Make sure you revisit your business plan to make sure that your business plan is aligning you with the proper protocols for doing business. Because when you first started your business, you had a business plan. And without a business plan, the people perish, if you will.
All right, Natalie, what's an R word for you at this stage in season of your business?
I think my word is going to be research, which is one that you mentioned already, but especially in my industry, it's so important to stay on top of trends, to know what's going on all over across industries. So research has been really helpful, especially as a new business owner, doing lots of reading and research.
Okay, we're going to get ready to come to a couple of questions from you. Please put them in the Q&A or chat box. So on trends, on research, I mean, some of us are different seasons of life. Has there ever been a time when you said enough of this, and that it goes into your reinventing, Brenda, but have you said it's enough of this and I need to just switch to a whole nother game? Anyone here? Kimberly?
Well, I was in the marketing and communications background, Natalie, and I reinvented myself as a construction licensed builder. So yeah, there comes a point in time in life when you're trying to reach certain goals, you have to change the platform. And for me, it was going into entrepreneurship as a contractor.
And?
Well, going back to what Brenda said, every 10 years, I actually reinvent myself from hair, clothes, and the thinking in the 5 businesses. So again, going from corporate into construction, I would say that would be, you know, a mindset shift in the reading, do that.
Yeah, yeah. Brenda?
I think reinventing myself is a very important thing, because as I'm getting older, one of the things I want to be able to do is pass the baton. I want to be able to help young women to carry it on, because somebody needs to pass the knowledge and the information to these young women. And I think because, you know, when we are reinventing ourselves, we also have to look at where the government is going, where these agencies are going, where our customers are going, what are the real needs. So you have to kind of redevelop your company. You have to go back and kind of see what are some of the actual needs. Even in our training, we have to keep our information updated so that we're able to provide the best quality information to our customers and the training needs that they may have. So that's very, very important for me.
Yeah, I was in the diversity end. And so our current resident at 1600 cut out diversity training. He was like, no government people can do. So I had to totally reinvent, because it meant that I couldn't get that contract. So you have to reinvent. So life happens like that for us. I have what we call the DSMOG principles that I've come together with. It's where fog and haze come together. That's called SMOG. So I think Black women have to have DSMOG. You have to digitize, energize, strategize, monetize, organize, go globalize, and glamorize. Which letter stands out for you the most? DESMOGG. Digitize, energize, strategize, monetize, organize, globalize, and glamorize. Which letter are you working on right now, Natalie? And we're gonna bring this to a close in the next 2 minutes. What's your letter?
I love digitize, because that's so much of what I do, and also strategize. Those are my words.
I love it. And
monetize.
All right, I'm with you. Okay. Okay. Kimberly?
Strategize and monetize. We're doing some new strategies to keep the monies flowing. So yes.
Okay. And Brenda?
Same thing, monetize, the same things that they have said, monetize, strategize, and what was the third? It was another one that I heard.
Organize or glamorize?
What you say, organize?
Organize, globalize.
Oh, definitely you have to stay organized. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I'm decluttering as we speak. So you have a course coming up, because you help prepare people to do business in the government. You have a course coming up at the end of January. What's your course and how can they reach it?
Okay, they can reach us on www.USSMC Corp and under the partnership with USSMC and GBWCC. There is a course that we are helping women. And let me give you what, on January the 26th, we're preparing your business to do business. We're preparing your business to win contracts and grants on Tuesday, February the 2nd from 2 to 5. All of these are going to be from 2 to 5. And the last one is finding where the contracts and grants are. That will be on February the 9th. And we're doing all of this for $250. And we hope that you guys will come, because you would not get all of this kind of information for $250 for 3 sessions. Okay.
So you're investing to make more money, so that
you're investing to make more money. And you're going to make more money than you are going to invest in this.
Ann and Kimberly, what do you have coming up in your future? I know you just did a retreat for high-end women, which we also do. We're going to partner on that in the future. But are there any courses or anything, if people are interested in coming into the construction business and they're Black women, where can they go?
We have 2 courses coming up on December 12th. We are actually going to be doing stress management. We realize there's been a lot of activities, so we talk about self-care and stress management. And that's going to be December the 7th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then in January, we host our annual meeting. So we'll be having our annual meeting in January. We're going to be in Jacksonville, Florida this year. And that's January the 27th through the 29th.
All right, my birthday falls right in there, January 29th.
Come on down and party with us.
Everybody wants to know where I am. I'm be in Florida. Last word, Natalie, do you have anything coming up?
Yeah, so actually today I've just made available a new guide. It's on my website, strateginc.com, but it helps experts translate their expertise into digital content So it helps you form a process for how to reach people that you want to communicate your expertise to.
And that's strategink.org or .com?
.com.
.com. So I thought you said new guide, G-U-Y at first. I need a date, but you said new guide. Okay. So if anyone wants to give me a date, you just find me at Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. But I want to thank our panelists, Brenda Campbell, Unlimited Consulting, Ann McNeil, Kimberly Naylor, and Natalie Jenkins. You're fabulous. We have to have you back when we can do a whole show with you guys. But thank you so much. We wish you a blessed and happy holidays. And now we're going to hear from Cynthia to take us out to introduce our final speaker of the day.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Sujay.
Thank you, Ambassador.
You're welcome. Thank you.
What a session. What a marvelous session. My word, Ambassador Sujay, is rich. This was a rich summit, and we had rich guests that shared with us. But now we would like everyone to hear from one of our dynamic founding board members, Linda Pringle Evans.
Hello, ladies, and welcome, welcome, welcome to what we have just experienced. Amazing, outstanding, fabulous. Now I need to ask you this question. What is holding you back from becoming a part of the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce? Ladies, this is truly our time. You've heard from these women today. We know our power. We know our worth. Others have seen it. So now it is time for us to come together. We came together recently and we saw the results. Now it's time for us to change the trajectory of our financial worth and wealth within our families, within our communities, and we can do this together. So I am personally inviting you to become a part of the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. What you have witnessed today is the first of a 4-part series of events. We're going to continue to provide you with what you need so that you are successful, that you are not alone. We can do this. So ladies, for 24 hours, you will receive a 10% discount by joining us, visiting the Global Black Women CC.org and insert Black Women in caps to receive your discount. I must say personally to Ambassador Sujay, thank you for 2 years ago when we had this conversation and you had this dream, this vision, and you have brought it into fruition. This is for us, by us. So ladies, if never before has this happened where we've had our own Chamber of Commerce. We are your voice. We are the right choice for you. So I am so honored today to have been here to witness this and to be a part of it with all of you magnificent, beautiful women. We are more powerful than we can imagine. So it has been my honor to be a part of this today. And I know the time has been long, so I am going to bring to you now the founder and CEO of the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce, Ambassador Sujay.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you to my fabulous team. All of you have been wonderful. And again, we want to thank our sponsors, Maya Brown, Charisma Speakers, USSMC Corp, Our Daily Bread, EBW, Women on the World Stage, Positive Community, Christian Times, and Rejoice Musical Soul Food. But most of all, we want to thank you for staying with us for 2 hours. I want to thank Darian Ham Willoughby. Thank you for being my backup. It's been wonderful being your neighbors. And thank all of you for joining us again. Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce.org, globalblackwomencc.org. We'll hope to see you soon. But thank you. May God bless you and may God bless America. Bye-bye.